Stories magazine.
Journal of Horror and the Paranormal.
Our stories and columns as doorways to transport you to other places.
Some of those places may scare you.
Others make you sit back and think.
But all of them are here to take you out of your ordinary life for just a little while.
Where nothing follows the rules.
Where commonplace events have uncommon consequences.
Where the sound you hear.
Where the sound you hear or the movement you see from the corner of your eye is just as scary and strange as your imagination says it might be.
Visit us at doorwaypublications.com.
Hi, this is Roughhouse of Parahub Radio, the internet's only rock and roll paranormal extravaganza. Thanks for downloading this week's podcast. Now, this is a stripped-down version of our weekly show without the music and the commercials. If you'd like to hear the whole show, join us on Thursdays beginning at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific, and 3 a.m. in the UK. Just go to parahub.org and you can hear the whole show and chat with us. Thanks for downloading this week's show. Hope you enjoy it. Parahub Radio, the internet's only rock and roll paranormal extravaganza. Smoking in the boys' room, the old Brownsville Station song by Motley Crue. It is a cover songs night tonight. All the songs will be songs originally done by somebody else, but got some great stuff lined up. I got some, The Who, Stevie Ray Vaughan. I'm going to go back. I dusted off my old White Lion album. And we're going to do a cover of Radar Love here in just a little while, so that ought to be cool. Hi, my name is Roughhouse. Welcome, fans, fiends, and friends, to another Parahub Radio.
Well, hello, all.
Joining me, Anthony, Paula, Katz. Pete's taking the night off again. But he works hard for the money, so we'll let him off tonight. Hello, everybody. How was your week so far? Did it go by fast for everybody, or was it just me?
Oh, it went by really fast.
I don't know what it is these days about, as I remember as a kid, it just seemed like Christmas took forever to come around. Now it's just like every other week it's Christmas, it seems like.
You know what? It seems to me, anyway, that life has really sped up since the year 2000. We've been on fast forward since then. Like, every year before that was really slow approaching Y2K. It just felt like forever, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, remember.
And then now that it's long gone, and it's like, holy, we're 8 years away now.
I remember as a kid and running around in the street at night, during the summer. It just seemed like not even at night. I mean, it would just seem like the day lasted forever when you were a kid. Now it's just like, I wake up, next thing I know, I'm watching primetime television, within minutes, it seems like. I don't know. Speaking of primetime television, you been watching any of these new paranormal shows that are on, like Fringe on Tuesday nights on Fox?
I caught one episode so far. Have you caught more than that?
Yeah, I've been watching it since the beginning. I'm hooked. I like
yeah?
it. Yeah, well, I was a big X-Files fan, so, I kind of, it's not, it's like X-Files, but not exactly. It's X-Files-ish. So.
Paula, have you seen that show yet?
No, I haven't. I don't watch much live TV, so I miss a lot of the new shows.
Oh, I don't either. Thank God for DVR,
But I need someone like you to tell me about them.
There's that show. There's a show called Sanctuary on the Sci-Fi Channel on Friday nights. That's really good. I don't, a lot of people always ask me, hey, did you catch Ghost Hunters this week? And, I've always told people, I don't watch those shows. To me, it's like a roofer watching a show about roofing. I do that kind of stuff. Not really so much interested in watching the TV shows. I'm not knocking them. I mean, if you want to watch that, hey, that's, more power to you. It's like, I have this thing. I don't eat the babies of food. Like, I don't eat duckling. And I don't eat lamb. I mean, and that's just a personal thing. If you want to go eat lamb chops, that's perfectly fine. Go do what you want to do. Just as a personal thing, I don't do it. But it's like those TV shows.
So what do you eat for breakfast?
Babies.
No. You're going to say eggs, aren't you?
Yeah.
No, eggs are not fertilized. The ones you eat from the store were never going to be a chicken. Think about that one, grasshopper.
They could have been chickens.
No. Those chickens are artificially fertilized. There is no male involved. or ovulated, I guess, not fertilized, ovulated. They lay the eggs. That thing, she could sit on it for a year. It's never going to become a chicken. There was no male involved in it. So that's I can justify because it ain't. It's just stuff. Yeah, I know my eggs. They're talking about it in the chat room. Ruff knows his eggs. Baby back ribs. For the longest time, I didn't eat them, because I thought they were, actual baby pig. I've since found out they're not necessarily. They're just small.
They're baby cows.
They're just small ribs. Unless somebody knows something and I don't. I loves me some baby back ribs, though. But anyhow, anniversary's coming up this week and next week. Anniversary for Anthony, celebrating a wedding anniversary tomorrow night. Congratulations.
That's right. And then your anniversary's coming up too, isn't it?
1 week from tomorrow night, Halloween is going to be my 16th anniversary.
Quite possibly the coolest anniversary I've ever heard of, if I might add.
Thank you. It was a long story that goes along with it. That every year I seem to be dragging out. We got married in 1992, on Halloween 1992. So many things went wrong that I've only got just a couple minutes here. I'll name just a few. First thing that went wrong is we decided to have it on Halloween, which was a Saturday that year. The problem being, in Jacksonville, Florida, there's a very, very large game that happens around Halloween. It's called the Florida-Georgia game, one of the biggest rivalries in college football. And it's played on neutral ground in Jacksonville. The Gators come from Gainesville up to Jacksonville, and the Dogs come down from Atlanta, or Athens, I guess it is, in Georgia, and they meet in Jacksonville. So half the people we invited didn't show. So many, like I said, so many things. That was the year of Hurricane Andrew in the Keys, and guess where we were honeymooning? In the Keys. Yeah. So we didn't. We were so many. We came home and found the wedding cake on the floor. We don't know why. Somebody had left it on the floor.
Oh man!
Somebody had locked our cats in the back room for 3 days. We had to go get a new mattress. It was just bad. So many things.
Quite the event to celebrate, huh?
We had all of our money stolen. We lived off of our gas card. I mean, we were eating gas station sandwiches for 3 days before we finally decided to come home. Anyway, that's not paranormal. So we'll talk more about paranormal. People always complain that I don't talk enough about the paranormal. I get on these tangents about other stuff. Hey, speaking of paranormal, Murray Silver is our guest tonight. Anthony is our expert on Murray Silver.
That's right. I've met him a couple times, sat and talked with him for a while. Very, very intelligent guy. Good conversationalist.
Yeah, I hear he's the man, as you say.
Oh, definitely.
Cool. He's part rock and roll. He's part paranormal. He's just like our show. He'll fit in perfectly, which means I'm intimidated. I may lose my job tonight. No, I won't lose my job. Speaking of jobs, coming up here in just a little while, we'll talk about the worst jobs we've ever had. I have a relatively new job. I started my own little business, and I was sitting there today thinking to myself,
how's that going?
Yeah, it's got its ups and downs, as any fledgling business will. Some days are better than others. And I was thinking to myself, as I'm sitting outside watching traffic go by, man, this is a really cool job. I've had some really bad ones in my life, and this one actually, although not making a lot of money, it's not bad, Beats roofing in August, I guess. So I was thinking, something, we could talk about that tonight. Paula's got the paranormal news coming up here in just a few minutes. Katz is here somewhere in the background.
I am here.
She's there. She's being quiet. She's not even in the chat room because I don't hear the clickety-clickety-clickety on the keyboard.
Well, I'm still recovering from mopping my entire house for like the past 3 hours, so.
Mopping 3 hours? What, do you have a mansion over there?
No, just a lot of frickin' tile and a dog that kept running through, bringing in everything from the backyard he could find.
Yeah.
Figuring all we have out there is, gravel, but somehow he managed to find, just weird trees that I know aren't growing in my backyard. I don't even think they grow in Arizona, so, yeah.
Casa de Cats is a mansion.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a ranch. It's like the Ponderosa out there in Arizona. Some people don't know that. Some people, new to the show, think that we're all in the same room, and technically we are in 4 different areas. And when Pete's here, we're actually in 5. I'm out on the Space Coast of Florida. Anthony and Paula over there in the Tampa, St. Petersburg.
She's sitting on my lap.
Having hot flashes.
Hi, Anthony.
Hi, Paula.
She's feeling very nauseated these days. She's starting to get very pregnant, I understand.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it was because she was sitting on my lap that she was nauseated.
Well, that goes without saying. Hey,
Gonna
Bobby's...
start rumors, Rob.
Speaking of Tampa and everything, Bobby's in the chat room. Hey, Bobby.
He is in them. He is. There he is.
Yeah, there he is. Anyway, and Katz is out in Arizona. When Pete's here, he's in Houston. So we actually, because of the wonderful world of the internet, can bring all of us together into one show from all over the place. So it's really, really nice.
Oh, look, there's somebody in the chat room named Orgasm.
Oh, no.
That was you.
No.
That's...
I say it. I don't spell it out in public. Sorry. I have my limits.
That's one tonight. For
She
those
doesn't
of you,
have them in public.
she doesn't have a filter. It's like straight from the brain out the mouth. For people who don't know what we're talking about 4 weeks ago, she started this whole thing where she said that word 13, 19 times in the whole show or something.
I thought we were up to 23. I don't remember.
There was a lot of that going on during the song breaks too, but anyway.
Oh, that was Bigfoot.
I see. Murray Silver, our guest, coming up here in about 10 minutes. If you like rock and roll and you like ghosts like we do, you're going to dig this because he's a really cool guy. And we'll talk to him. And Paula's Paranormal News is coming up next right here on Parahub Radio, the Internet's only rock and roll paranormal extravaganza.
Parahub Radio News.
Parahub Radio News brought to you each week by Doorways Magazine. Go by doorwayspublications.com. Get the latest edition. The new Halloween edition, I believe, is going to be in stores here next week. So that ought to be cool. Here's Paula with the latest paranormal news.
Well, guys, be sure to catch the second episode of the all-new Ghost Adventures this Friday. It's at 9 p.m. Eastern on the Travel Channel. And Zach told me that this episode has a bit more chill factor to it.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, some friends of ours are going to be in that episode this week. Mike and Debbie Constantino.
Right, that's coming up. Actually, that was my next line.
I stole it from you.
He stole my news.
That's how good we are. We've been together so long we can finish each other's sentences.
So anyway, they're having Mark and Debbie Constantino on the show on Halloween night. So check them out at travelchannel.com. Cool. Now, you remember that eerie figure that was lurking about that gym in was it Missouri or Kansas a few weeks ago?
Yeah, that blobby thing. It was in working out or whatever.
Overland Park, Kansas.
Right.
Well, it turns out it was a bug. And here's why. Okay, well, it was white, not a focus.
Mm-hmm.
It was reflecting light rather than emitting light.
Right.
Wasn't glowing, although there are some bugs that can glow. The camera showed that the object was above the room, not really in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was only seen on one camera, and there were 8 in the room.
Oh, well, see, there you go.
So, sorry, guys. Ghosts don't work out.
It was a ghost in a fake Bigfoot suit.
A tiny one. Okay. A witch in Connecticut is feeling the heat right now because he wants to perform a Wiccan ritual on Halloween at the public library in front of children.
What's wrong
Reverend,
with
I don't know. Reverend, what? Okay, for some reason I called him Rabbit Cabot Freeman.
that? Rabbit
Okay.
Cabin? What?
Anyway, Never mind. I made a typo and I called him Reverend Rabid Cabot Freeman.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, he assured everyone that he doesn't kill babies or drink blood.
Oh, well, then I'm not going. The heck with that. Boring.
All right, Anthony, here's one for you. You ready?
Yep.
There's a hot blonde ghost for you in
Where?
the country. in the
We're there.
in the Country House restaurant in Chicago.
Okay.
And she died in the 50s when she was dating the bartender, got in a car accident. So if you want to flirt with a ghost, head over to Chicago.
Does she do anything special?
Go find out.
Yeah, so bring a camera. We'll post
All right,
it.
guys. We'll have to. I'm taking donations. You can mail those to P.O. Box.
916, Sharps, Florida.
That's right.
Oh, gosh. Rabid Reverend. I'm stuck on that now.
I make a typo every week, guys.
Does he live in Corpus Christi?
Yeah, I guess so. Good Lord.
Oh, gosh.
Anyway, the United Kingdom released a second batch of UFO archives on October 20th, and they even revamped their website. The UFO page got 1.7 million hits in 2 days, and you can see it at www.nationalarchives.gov.uk/UFOs.
Wow, somebody please write that in the chat room.
I'll get it when I'm done with my news.
Wow. Oh, that's way too many dots.
Okay,
dot.
Bigfoot, you ready? I'm going to talk about your relatives. Bigfoot's got relatives in Russia.
No.
Some Russian guys claim to have found giant footprints in the snow in western Siberia. Now, the funny thing is, the video I saw showed some guys melting the snow around the footprints with a blowtorch. So it makes you wonder how they got there to begin with.
Yeah, really. Because that's a thing to do, you know. It's snowy. You're bored. Is it snowing now in Russia? Already?
Must be in the mountains.
I guess. Well, maybe it snows all the. I guess Tibet and all that is over there, right? Or not Tibet. What am I thinking? Siberia. I
We're
guess
not sure. We just smile and nod.
Me too.
Yeah, right.
Moving right along.
Okay, one of the guests we had on the show previously, Psychic Annette Martin, is going to appear on Good Morning America on Monday, October 27th at 7 a.m. Pacific, 8 a.m. Eastern, and she'll be discussing the ghost at the famous Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California.
How does that
And
happen? 7 a.m. Pacific, 8 a.m. Eastern? There's a bit of a disparity there.
See, I made another typo.
Okay. I was about to say, wait a minute. Am I missing the center of the United States? What happened?
Okay, I made another typo.
Okay.
It's hormones.
There you
I
go.
would just go look it up. Go Google Good Morning America.
No
and check
thanks.
the listing.
I don't want to Google those guys. Don't tell what'll come up. It's probably even 7 a.m. Pacific would be 9 on the eastern coast, or no?
Well, I'm not sure which time I wrote first. I mean, which one is supposed to be the correct one, so.
Right. Anyway,
I'm a useless news person.
yeah, we'll blame it on the pregnancy. How about that?
Yeah.
All right, last one.
That was it. But she also has a new book out called The Gift of the White Light, and you can check it out at www.annette-martin.com.
It's a great book. She sent me a copy, and I got to read it. And yeah, if you get a chance to get that book, it's good for Christmas. I mean, it really is. Buy 2 or 3. Annette will thank you. From the internets.
From the internet's only rock and roll paranormal extravaganza, I'm Paula Jedi with Parahub Radio News, sponsored by Doorways Magazine. See them at www.doorwayspublications.com.
Our interview with Murray Silver up next.
Parahub Radio.
Doorways Magazine.
Journal of Horror.
And the paranormal. Our stories and columns as doorways to transport you to other places.
Some of those places may scare you.
Others make you sit back and think.
But all of them are here to take you out of your ordinary life for just a little while.
Where nothing follows the rules.
Where commonplace events have uncommon consequences.
Where the sound you hear.
Where the sound you hear or the movement you see from the corner of your eye is just as scary and strange as your imagination says it might be.
Visit us at doorwaypublications.com.
Hi, my name is Ruff House. You are listening to Parahub Radio, and without further ado, we bring on the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Murray Silver joins us right now. Welcome, Murray.
Nice to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. You know, as we were talking during the song there a little while ago, we were saying that this show is basically you. I mean, it's classic rock, it's paranormal, it's we talk about ghosts and we rock out to to great classic rock. And you have led such a storied life yourself, spanning both genres yourself.
Right.
And we're so happy that you're on the show tonight. I'm glad we got on.
We could literally talk for hours, if not days.
Oh, we could. I've listened to a couple of your speeches before, Murray, and your endless knowledge. I love sitting and listening to you, and literally I could listen to you for hours and days.
Yeah, I think you were at Ghost Stock recently. Was it the last one or one before last or something like that?
I have been at all of them.
All of them.
Unfortunately, there won't be any more.
Really? I hadn't heard that. What happened?
Patrick Burns is retired from the business.
Oh, wow.
And so there won't be any more, and I'm hoping that some enterprising entrepreneur will come along and take up where he left off because, listen, I have to admit it, we're easy targets.
Yeah.
But there was something about this group that met in Savannah that something remarkable or special happened at each one of these events, and I treasure some of the friendships that I made, and I would like to see this continue. And the only thing that surprises me is that things like it haven't caught on in other towns. Yeah. I don't know why there aren't regular conventions in Charleston and St. Augustine, in New Orleans, and so forth. I don't know why this isn't happening, but in any event, maybe the people who are listening to the Parahub Network will take a cue here and take up where Patrick Burns has left off.
I think it might have something to do with coming up with the dinero to put down, and because a lot of people don't make a full-time gig out of this, so
Well, and I got to tell you too, and not to be critical, but this makes a lousy hobby, ghost hunting.
It does,
and it attracts a lot of very spooky, kooky people.
Yep.
Who should maybe find something else to do, a hobby in the broad daylight instead of running around at night looking for dead people. So the thing is that maybe we have imploded. Maybe we have no one to blame but ourselves because the kinds of people this normally attracts, I don't know, it's difficult to form a cohesive group.
Right. Has the paranormal gone the way of boy bands, you think?
Well, actually, I think it's gone the way of punk rock. I think it's just eaten
that's
itself, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, punk only lasted a few years, so...
And for good reason.
Yeah, and you would know. Murray Silver, for people who don't know, has a very classic rock background as well as a paranormal background. So, for people who don't know who you are, tell us about Murray Silver and where you began.
Well, I'll give you the nickel definition. I'm 55 years old. I was born in Savannah, Georgia, in 1953, but my father was a civil rights lawyer back in the day when there were very few white lawyers that were doing such things, and he came to the attention of Martin Luther King, and that caused us to move to Atlanta in 1966. Mm-hmm. And when Martin was assassinated, my father then became Coretta's lawyer and Andy Young's lawyer and Daddy King's lawyer, and that kept us in Atlanta. And when I turned 16 the year of Woodstock, 1969. Wow. And there was also a big Atlanta rock festival, and I told my father that I thought that there was money to be made promoting rock concerts on a regular basis in Atlanta, because there was nobody in Atlanta at the time promoting rock concerts.
Right, you had the Fox Theater, and that was about it.
Well, they would not allow you to do rock concerts in the Fox Theater.
Oh, okay, that was pretty
The old city auditorium would not allow you to do that because they did not want hippies smoking dope on city property.
Yeah.
So I had to find a place that was a skating rink on Saturdays and a wrestling arena on Sundays, and they would allow me to do concerts when the place was not in use for anything else. And when I was 16, still a sophomore in high school, I was promoting concerts on Sunday afternoons, and I brought many groups to Atlanta for the very first time. And I lost a lot of money. I mean, I went bankrupt doing it because There weren't any FM radio stations at the time to play this music.
Right.
And if you never heard of the band, then you didn't want to go see them in concert, even if the ticket was only $3.
Yeah.
I remember that my very first show was December 17th, 1969, and it was a brand new band out of England that had just recorded their first album. They were a 5-man blues band that went by the name of Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
And the band that opened for them was a brand new band that came out of California, had just recorded their first album called On Time, and the band was known as Grand Funk Railroad.
Oh, that little old band? Never heard of them.
Nobody came to see them because nobody had heard of them.
Yeah.
And I brought people like Johnny and Edgar Winter to town and the Kinks. I brought the Grateful Dead and the Allman Brothers together for the first time, sold 3,000 tickets. And so by 1972, I'd gone bankrupt from doing concerts. But in the process, I had met all of these people on their way up the ladder. And 5, 6, 7 years later, when they all became famous, I approached them to interview them or to get gigs as a tour photographer. And I went out on the road with everybody from Paul McCartney and George Harrison to Elton John and the Rolling Stones, all the way up to the Sex Pistols. I went on the road with the Pistols for their only tour of the United States.
Wow.
And that's what then led to the chance to write my first book. In 1981, I wrote the book Great Balls of Fire about Jerry Lee Lewis.
Right.
That was made into the movie that starred Dennis Quaid and Winona Ryder.
Great.
And I never went back to rock and roll. I just stayed with the book and the movie thing.
Yeah. That's one of the greatest times for rock and roll. I mean, it's unfortunate that you didn't make any money, but nobody did. I mean, even, people don't know that, Woodstock, they were millions in the red.
We weren't in it for the money, believe it or not.
Exactly.
That generation was all. Listen, let me tell you something. The reason you could not charge more than $3 for a ticket was the kids said, "Wait a minute, the promoter doesn't have any right to make money off of our music. This is our music, and we'll give you enough money to afford to pay the band and overhead, but you're not supposed to make money off of it, man, because this was not a capitalistic enterprise."
You're selling out.
So the thing was, I never had a show that the tickets were more than $3, but then too, the bands charged only $5,000 to $10,000 at the time to get away with doing this.
Right.
I think the Rolling Stones around this time wanted $50,000. They were the top paid band in the world.
Yeah, I remember my first show was in 1982. It was like an $11 ticket, and back then, I mean, you got a show. Now it's $125 or something to see the Eagles, and it's just 5 guys playing.
I would not pay that much money to see the Beatles resurrected because I saw them in Jacksonville, and the ticket was $6.
Yep. Yeah. That's where I'm from. So yeah, we know all about that. So let's go move from the rock and roll into the paranormal. How did that happen?
Easy transition. Follow me now. This is how you connect the dots.
All right.
At the same time that I'm making the movie Great Balls of Fire in Memphis, and I knew just watching this film being made that it was going to suck, I would complain to anybody and everybody on the set. I said, you are ruining what took me 10 years to write and get this movie. So you are ruining it. And, of course, people said to me, "Listen, stupid. Having your book made into a movie is like winning the lottery. You're one of the luckiest guys on the planet. Instead of complaining, why don't you just go ahead and get your next thing up and running before this turkey bombs?" That's how everybody else does it. And so I remember one day I was talking to Dennis Quaid's bodyguard, who had been a cop from Baton Rouge, and he said to me, "Look, why don't you just go ahead and get your next story up and running?" And I said, "Well, I don't even have an agent. I sold the movie rights to Great Balls of Fire by myself. I didn't have an agent." And he said, "Well, if you've got another idea for a film," he said, "I used to work for Richard Gere before I came to work for Dennis Quaid." He said, "Richard's sitting around doing nothing. Why don't you call him?" Now, you got to remember, this was 1988.
Right.
Richard had made the movie Officer and a Gentleman, but had not yet made Pretty Woman, and he'd made a couple of clunkers, and he took his time off to study Tibetan Buddhism. So I called Richard Gere. It was November of 1988, and I called him on the phone. He answered the phone on the first ring. I said, "Listen, I've got an idea for a film. I'd like to talk to you about it." And he said to me, well, you're on hiatus during the Christmas break of filming. Why don't you come to New York and talk to me about it? Long story short, Christmas '88, I go to New York to talk to Richard Gere about making this movie. And at the end of the day, he said to me, "Well, what are you doing tonight?" I said, "Well, I only came up here to see you." He said, "Well, would you like to meet the Dalai Lama?"
Wow. Just kind of off the shelf.
I said, "Well, yeah, I'd like to meet the Dalai Lama." He said, "Well, I'm hosting a private affair tonight at Columbia University where he's going to appear." He said, "This is to honor the first Western professor who has a seat in teaching Tibetan studies. And he said the Dalai Lama knew the man because the man was also one of the first Westerners to become a Tibetan Buddhist monk. And the Dalai Lama's come to town for this private affair, and there'll only be about 50 people there, but you're welcome to come with me.
Mm-hmm.
And that night I met the Dalai Lama, and it completely changed my life. His Holiness, when we met, he asked me to set aside the business of my life to help him with his more important business. And at that point, I was no longer concerned about the mess that they were making out of my book about Jerry Lee Lewis. And I began writing articles about Tibet and China's oppression of Tibet. And long story short, I went on the road with a group of Tibetan Buddhist monks who still travel to the United States, performing their sacred chants and dances for museum and college audiences around the country.
Wow.
And I did that for several years. And so naturally, now that I'm into the religion thing and studying with the lamas, they're all about spirit. And it seemed to revive an interest that I had developed as a child.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I got to tell you parenthetically, the other key element here is this. My mother's family were the benefactors of America's first great psychic, Edgar Cayce.
Right. Wow.
Edgar Cayce was the American Nostradamus. My mother's family, their name was Kahn, K-A-H-N. They were from Kentucky. You read any book or any bio on Cayce, and you'll read about my mother's family. And so as a child, when I was having experiences with ghosts, my mother didn't tell me I was imagining things.
Mm-hmm.
My mother said, well, what did they look like? What did they have to say? And oddly enough, one of them gave me a message that saved my mother's life. My mother had an undiagnosed illness, and the spirit of a great aunt of mine appeared to me one day in broad daylight and looked as real as you and me and said to me, Murray, I'm very worried about your mother, and warned me of an illness that was later detected and the catastrophe averted. At that point, my mother understood that I was in touch with these entities. And at that point, she took me to school on how I'd come by this honestly,
Mm-hmm.
because her family had been very close to Edgar Cayce. So the point is that here is the perfect example of how everything is connected. Right. Rock and roll, religion, spirituality, it's all connected.
Absolutely.
It's all connected.
Right. That was what the whole drug movement was about. You know?
Yeah, baby. You made the connections without leaving your armchair.
Absolutely. So, you saw this entity? Are you psychic?
Listen, I think we all are to some degree, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like any other talent or ability. Although the great psychics seem to have one thing in common, and that is it runs in the family, usually among the women of the family.
Uh-huh.
There is a terrific psychic in Atlanta, Georgia, who comes from a long line of them, and she explained to me that it's a genetic thing.
Mm-hmm.
That psychic ability is developed just like anything else, and in her family it was certainly true among the women, and I seem to find that to be true in most of the psychics I've met, that they seem to have inherited it, and usually it passes among the women in the clan. So
Mm-hmm.
I have some degree of it. I guess you could say I'm in touch with my feminine side, which I have to be careful how I say that, but the point is that apparently that's true.
Uh-huh.
And I've always been very close to my mother, and I think that some of her other talents and abilities, including the paranormal, rubbed off on me.
Wow.
So I think that's how I came. I think I came by it honestly.
Cool.
What do you think the best way to communicate is? With
meditation.
Meditation?
Yes. Here's the thing, and I want your listeners to pay careful attention. If you want to improve your ability to communicate with the other side, do what other people do who routinely see spirit. Now, who routinely sees them? Psychics and monks or nuns of every order. Mm-hmm. Now, these are people who lead meditative lifestyles. And their day begins at 4 o'clock in the morning with meditation and prayer. And they will also tell you that at 4 o'clock in the morning is the time of the night when the window between this world and the other is wide open.
Yeah.
And it's very, very easy to encounter this spirit energy from 4 to 6. Now, that's also the reason why most people who have any encounter with spirit will do so in the sleep state, in the dream state. And it's typically at this time of night that they have these visitations. So therefore, instead of sleeping through these visitations, if you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and do meditation and prayer, you would be stunned at the clarity that you have. And so all of the monks that I've talked to have told me that ESP, clairvoyance, communicating with spirit, is a byproduct of the meditative lifestyle. It's not the object of the meditation. It's just a byproduct of it, and it scarcely merits mention among them. I mean, to them, this is just no big deal. It's commonplace.
Right.
Now, here's another tip, though. I have asked some of the greatest psychics on this planet who can see spirit and talk to spirit as plainly as I'm talking to you, and they tell me, now you're going to love this, they tell me that the reason some people see spirit and other people don't, or even some people who see some spirit, but not all of them, is because people are like radio stations.
Mm-hmm.
We're all tuned to a frequency. And it also explains perhaps the laws of attraction between people. The reason why you and your girlfriend are together is that you get each other. You're on the same wavelength.
Right.
Well, it's the same way with seeing spirit. You have to be on the wavelength with that spirit in order to see it, which is why even people who see ghosts don't see all of them. They just see the ones that they're on the same wavelength with. And that may be the explanation why most people, if they ever see a spirit, it's usually of a deceased loved one. If you only see one ghost in your life, it's usually grandma. Why? Because you're on the same wavelength. You've got this connection to grandma. You may not see another ghost, and believe me, there's a bunch of them out there. But the point is, yeah, meditation number 1, wavelength number 2. This is the secret. This is the shortcut. You want to see ghosts. That's how you do it.
Right, right. You're listening to Parahub Radio, the Internet's only rock and roll paranormal extravaganza. We're talking with Murray Silver. May possibly be one of the most interesting guests we've ever had on the show. Yeah, I'm trying to suck up. Sorry. Hey, what can I say? Paula, Anthony, and Kat's also joining us. I'm going to open up the table to these guys. And Paula, do you have a question for Murray?
Yes, but you caught me with saltines in my mouth.
Of course. Well, we have to forgive her. She's pregnant, Murray. So
I'm pregnant. Yes.
Well, try whistling.
Oh, cute. I have a question that's not paranormal, actually. Do you know Brian Johnson? Of course, you know of him, but do you know him?
Not personally. Why?
No? Oh,
do
just
I owe
curious.
Him money?
No, he owes me money, and I want... No, just kidding. No, I was just curious.
Brian Johnson, lead singer of AC/DC. She's been trying to get him on the show for a year.
Well, yeah, but that's not why I was asking. I'm actually just 1 degree away from him, but just curious.
My computer password for a long time was Thunderstruck.
Great song.
And I always loved
writing
AC/DC,
that down.
but AC/DC got really hot towards the end of my career. I remember now I'm 55, and I got out of the serious side of rock and roll music in 1977. I swore that the last tour, the Sex Pistols, was my last tour, because after I had seen that, I knew that I had seen too much. And I never, ever went out on the road again. But I will tell you this, of all the people I've worked with, the person who meant the most to me musically and spiritually, together now, undoubtedly, hands down, George Harrison.
Yeah?
I went on the road, his only solo tour, as his photographer. My photographs are on the cover of the new biography that came out last year called Here Comes the Sun. And George Harrison and I used to have a lot of conversations about Buddhism and Hinduism and Catholicism and spirit and rock and roll and the spirit of rock and roll. I'm going to tell you something. And this is $1 million idea I'm putting out there, and I know that somebody's going to run with it, and they're going to do well. One of these days you'll thank me. There is money to be made, either doing a book or a documentary or even a radio program on the spirit of pop music, how spirit is revealed through rock and roll. And by looking at people like George Harrison, Peter Gabriel, there are spiritual messages that are as deep as the Bible, and I'm just waiting for somebody to take that and run with it. And it would be perfect for your show to explore the spiritual messages. I mean, look, you could do an entire thing just on Bob Dylan alone.
Right, sure. I mean
Bob Dylan is like a modern day prophet, for God's sake.
Absolutely.
And what is amazing to me is that so many people these days, especially young people, they're not people of faith anymore. They don't practice a religion, but yet pop music has become godlike to them, and the music has become as powerful to them as any spiritual. And so I'm surprised that somebody hasn't really developed that thought more fully. I think there's a lot of material there.
It's going to eventually have to go somewhere in that direction. Music, I was talking with my wife the other day, and we were talking about how rap music, I remember when I was doing radio in the 80s, and rap music started to come around, And then it started to get so violent, and I'm thinking to myself, this is going to eventually just burn itself out. And it hasn't. It's just gotten more and more. And as it follows, the rock music has gotten more and more like that. It just seems like there's nowhere else really to go except back to where we were.
You're exactly right. And let me tell you, there was a time in the 70s when I used to buy 10 albums a week.
Yep.
And these days, I don't buy 2 albums a year.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm jaded, but, I got to tell you something. The 70s and the early 80s, this was when the very best musicians we've ever seen were creating their very best music. And there's just no way you're going to beat Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. I don't care how long this planet spins around the sun. It's just not going to happen.
They don't make that anymore. And they do it.
And you can't.
You're right.
I don't know how the hell you're going to beat it.
I'm going to call out U2 because their last album, that the Atomic Bomb CD, whatever it was, they released this song Vertigo, and I'm thinking, wow, what a cool song. And we went and bought the album, and I'm thinking that was the only song it sounded like that. The rest of it was just crap. And I got so upset. I haven't bought an album since then because they don't do albums for the artistic value anymore. It's all about the sale.
Yeah, but you know something? The business that I knew and enjoyed has completely disappeared.
Yeah.
There aren't any more concert promoters. There are very few tours. I mean, the nature of the business, there was a time when, you know what happened? Money reared its ugly head and got in the way.
Yep.
And it became so expensive to tour, and the ticket prices got so expensive that the whole thing just imploded.
Yep.
I will never forget the year the Sex Pistols came out and started this revolution of stripping everything bare. Do you know what the tour was, the big tour that came out right before the Sex Pistols?
Donny Osmond.
No, it was Emerson, Lake, and Palmer, the Works tour, in which they hit the road with a 100-piece symphony, and the tickets were the most expensive ever charged. The band went bankrupt because nobody wanted to go. So they couldn't afford the ticket, and Emerson, Lake, and Palmer went bankrupt and were never heard from again. Rock and roll had gotten so grandiose, it was like opera,
right.
And there was nowhere else for it to go. And then the Sex Pistols came along and said, look, this is a lot of crap. I mean, rock and roll is just, guitars and drums and a lot of noise and teen angst, and that has all been forgotten.
Right.
And so at that point, the Pistols stripped it down and tried to rebuild on top of it, and then rap came out of that, and now what you've got is an impossible situation where the marketplace has been so revolutionized now with downloading and free access, one thing and another, that the business will never, ever, ever again be like it was in the 70s.
No,
and I feel
it
so
won't.
sorry for people who are coming along now and were not alive then, because it was a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, it was. And, I having been in the radio industry part of it during a lot of that, I came in the mid-'80s. It's all of a sudden when corporations took over, it changed everything. And I feel for DJ. People come to me now and say, "Hey, I'm going to school to be a DJ," and I just kind of laugh. I'm like, "Why?"
There aren't anymore.
No, a computer's going to do your job for you. And
it's like being a Zeppelin repairman. There aren't any more DJs.
No, there's not. People don't understand that.
Hey, I repair Zeppelins.
Anthony Zeppelin repairs. We are talking with Murray Silver right now. Anthony, you got another question?
Absolutely. So we were just kind of talking about the explosion or implosion of the rock industry, and I was wondering what you thought about the current popularity of the paranormal industry and what that ultimately will do and some of the dangers associated with the explosion.
Brilliant question, but I got to tell you something. The interest in the paranormal is because organized religion, has dropped the ball. Organized religion these days, you go to a church and what are they preaching to you? Abundance, that God wants you to be wealthy. Churches are no longer preaching about spirit. And yet, long time ago, they kidnapped spirit and they held it hostage. And if you wanted to get in touch with God or your own spirit, you had to go to a church and pay for that privilege and pay for that access. And after 2,000 years, this is starting to die off now. And organized religions, the wheels are coming off. And people, however, are starved for, follow me, People are starved for an authentic spiritual experience.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't get it in the church, and if science says it doesn't exist, where the hell are you supposed to go to get in touch with spirit? So I started this website called Murray on Spirit, in which I'm trying to speak to people about what spirit is, how to refresh it, where you can still go on this planet and find it. And believe me, the places are getting fewer. The sacred places on this planet are losing their mojo.
Mm-hmm.
And much of the spirit that I encounter these days seems to be in conflict. Sometimes the spirit acts as if it is an endangered species. And consequently, what is amazing to me now, back in July, I went to the National Mensa Conference, and Mensa is the social organization for geniuses.
Uh-huh.
And I was asked to deliver the keynote address before the entire group. There were thousands of people jammed into the biggest ballroom in the biggest hotel in downtown Denver, where Obama gave his speech. The place was packed, and you know what the speech was on? Spirit. It's all people want to know. They don't know where to go to find spirit. They don't know where you can find out or talk to or be talked to about it.
And members of Mensa generally aren't that spiritual, are they?
Let me tell you, most of them are agnostic or atheistic, but
right.
still they have this desire to get in touch with that spirit within. And if religion isn't going to show you the way anymore, where are you supposed to do this?
Right, exactly.
So I think that to answer your question, and it's a brilliant question, this interest in the paranormal is a derivative of the fact that this is the state religion is in. And now people are turning to this because they're saying, well, my God, if I can see a ghost, maybe that does indicate there is no end to life. And if there is no end to life, then maybe there is a heaven and a hell. And it causes these people to think about the consequences if there is such thing as ghosts.
Yep.
Because, you see, I'm not interested in ghost stories.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in ghosts, but I'm only interested in them insofar as they tend to prove there is no end to life. That is the proof that there is something after this. And, of course, this, for a lot of people, is groundbreaking news. Because there's an awful lot of people out there who say, listen, I don't believe it. I don't believe what the Bible says. And until I see it, I don't believe it. Well, you know, if you encounter a ghost, it seems to mean something.
Right.
And I'm trying to get to the bottom of what that is and what that means to you and me.
Absolutely.
But I do believe that this interest, this explosion in the interest in the paranormal is because, one thing, more and more people are now having direct experience. And I think that's because there's a shift on this planet that's making it easier to access other dimensions and cross timelines. Yeah. Look at what's going on television right now, folks. A few short years ago, a television show about ghosts and mediums and psychics was unthinkable. It was not thought to be mainstream. Now it's commonplace. Why? Because more and more people are having these experiences. More and more people are catching the stuff on camera and EVPs, and there's more evidence and there's more proof, and consequently more and more people are accessing it, and that's why you're finding there's 6 shows on. I have a brand new show on TV right now about this stuff.
Oh,
so
yeah?
So the point, that's my point to you. That's what's happening on this planet right now. More and more people having the experience. And where are you going to go to talk about it?
Right.
I mean, who are you going to call? Danny Aykroyd?
No offense to Dan Aykroyd. He's not a friend or anything, but people don't know. It's the kind of thing he does. It's Ghostbusters. It comes from his brother. Is actually a paranormal investigator. So that's where a lot of this comes from. But
this is my point. I mean, if you're having these experiences, where do you go? Who do you talk to?
Who are you going to call?
You can't go to your priest. You can't go to your priest. You go to your doctor. He'll tell you you're delusional.
Right.
So where are you going to go?
Right. I hear you.
So I have developed my interest in this, ladies and gentlemen, simply because there's this tremendous void, and science doesn't want to take a look at it because science says this stuff doesn't exist. Science says you can't prove it.
Right.
Religion believes it exists, but it doesn't explain it to you.
Right.
So science turns a blind eye, and religion has dropped the ball.
Right.
So where else are you going to go?
I'm Ruff House on the line with Murray Silver. Interesting interview he's hanging on with us. Also got on the line with us our good friend Patrick Burns. Hello, Patrick.
How's it going, Ruff House?
It's just another beautiful day in the neighborhood. We were talking a little while ago about ghost stock, and apparently we misspoke about something. What happened?
Well, I'm not sure. You know, it's funny how rumors get started, and they just sort of take on a life of their own. As I'm getting text messages and phone calls from people. They're like, "Why are you retiring? What's going on?" And everybody's in this tailspin panic, and I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! This is all news to me." But Murray was telling me he was at an event in Abbeville, South Carolina, last weekend, Phantom Fest, being thrown by my good friends Scott Colbert and Heidi Barlow, and that this rumor had sort of gotten started that I was getting out of the field, that I was retiring. Let me just quash that rumor right now, say that nothing could be further from the truth. There are definitely some changes that are going on. Ghost Stock, once upon a time, was an event that we only did in Savannah, Georgia. And
you had
Murray,
6 of them, right? 6 or 7
yes,
of them,
we've done six of them in Savannah, and Murray himself is actually the one that's been telling me that we ought to start looking at other venues to host it in, like Charleston and possibly going to New Orleans at some point. So finally, I took the infinite wisdom of my good friend Murray and decided to make good on that. Savannah started to get a little bit pricey for us to host the conference at. Being a smaller event was, we have a bottom line that we have to keep an eye on in order to make everything viable, to make ends meet. So I have decided that Ghost Stock 7, we're skipping out doing a fall Ghost Stock this year, but we're going to pick it up in the spring. Right now, we are tentatively shooting to do it in Salem, Massachusetts. Everybody's said to me, "Gosh, you guys have the whole Northeast has really kind of been sidestepped for a lot of these conferences." And I said, "Yeah, nobody's really done anything in Salem yet." And every time I tell somebody Salem, Massachusetts, their eyes light up. They're like, "Ooh, count me in for that." So
absolutely.
And then I guess part of this other rumor started out was that I sold my thermal imaging camera on eBay. To be perfectly honest, yes, I'm cash is a little tight on me right now. Who isn't it tight for right now with the economy the way it is?
I've lost a ton myself.
I'm sorry?
I said I've lost a ton of money myself.
Yeah. So I've had this thermal imaging camera. I haven't used it in a number of years. It was basically kind of sitting around gathering dust, and I was thinking to myself, boy, that's a shame. That's a sin. There's somebody out there that would really be wanting to make good use of this device, and I'm a little short on cash right now, and just basically went through, did some house cleaning, and found some old things that I really didn't need anymore. And that was one of my paranormal investigation tools that I really haven't used in a few years. So no, just to quash those rumors right now, Patrick Burns is not retiring from the paranormal. He is not retiring from Ghost Stock. We're just moving things around a little bit, changing them up. But I promise you, I'm not going anywhere. I'm like a bad case of mono or something.
Hey Murray, you know anything about mono?
But I'd like to take this opportunity to announce my retirement from the business.
Well, Murray, how did you and Patrick...
Murray is retiring, and he and I are running off to get married together.
Oh, there you go. Murray, how did you and Patrick get hooked up for Ghost Stock?
It's spirit. This is the way spirit operates, and I honestly believe that it puts people in touch that way. It's like anything else. It's like any other movement, whether it's religious, political, social. People of a like mind, we are connected through spirit. It's the reason why everybody goes to a church and feels a certain kinship, and people who are in the spirit realm will tell you we get together, and all of a sudden weird things start happening. The energy rises. Psychics will tell you that their ability increases. So when you're among your own kind, you spot each other. And remember I told you about that wavelength thing?
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing. I get around Patrick, Reese, people like this, and it's a powerful thing. And who knows what we might accomplish together as a group. We've never attempted to concentrate our energies together at one time on one thing, and God knows what would happen if we did.
My
But
head
the
would
point
blow
is, to
up.
answer your question, it's like anything else. We're on the same wavelength. We pick up on each other, and we enhance each other's abilities.
Wow.
Definitely. Murray's been a staple speaker at Ghost Stock. I think Ghost Stock 2 was the second one. Was the first time we had Murray on, and I had not. To be perfectly honest, I was not familiar with Murray, but when I heard about his bio and his accomplishments, I was like, oh, we've got to have this guy on there. You know, fifth generation Savanian with the most impressive resume that I think I've ever seen. I mean, it's just fantastic. And we had him as a speaker, and immediately people were riveted. People were just sitting there. That, you know, the small number of people that made it for his first lecture were just on the edge of their seats, absorbing every word that this guy said. And I was like, oh, we're definitely bringing this guy back to the next one and the next one after that. He's just everybody that, if you've not had a chance to listen to Murray speak, I recommend you sit down. You will be blown away by his logic, his wisdom, and just the message that he conveys is absolutely incredible. Murray has just a fantastic perspective for this field, and I'm proud to call him my friend.
Aww.
Aww.
Wow, I feel privileged to have the two of you on together now.
There you go.
Start our own show, Patrick.
Maybe we should do that, Murray. You know, I might be looking for a new job here soon myself. So, and that's not to start any rumors either.
I was about to say, is there something going on?
Is
Something going on with the TV show that we don't know about?
No. But it is the entertainment industry. It is a volatile industry, as Murray will tell you. There is no such thing as a sure thing or a free lunch or what have you in television. And you know, we'll see. Hopefully they'll greenlight us for more episodes, but you know, maybe not. And if not, then I'll certainly be looking for the next big thing for me, my next big break.
Right. Well, before we let you go, and you may or may, if you don't want to talk about this, this is totally cool. I mean, you know, I don't want to, push you. Was there some kind of rift between you and some of the cast during the show, or?
No, you know, I really can't comment on that.
Yeah, I figured you could.
You know, I'm contractually, you know, bound from discussing details about the show. You know, there's
rumors happened and things were said, and
of course,
you never know what's true.
You know, maybe at some point in time, after consulting with an attorney, you know, once the show has run its course, maybe I can say something. I don't know. I guess I probably need to be very, very careful in that regard. But
in other words, wait for the tell-all book to come out.
Yeah, yeah, right. Well, you know, I don't wish ill on anyone. So if there's any animosity in the cast, that's a one-way street. It's directed. Right. You know, it's not being directed towards anyone on my behalf. Right. That's all I have to say. Is right. I've had a wonderful time working on the show. I've met some wonderful people and had the privilege of working alongside some amazing people, and we'll just leave it at that for right now.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. That's absolutely, you said more than I thought you could. So, well, thank you, Patrick, for coming on and for straightening us out on that. So there will not be a Ghost Stock for this the remainder of this year, but you do 2 a year, so we're looking for spring in Salem.
Absolutely.
All righty. Well, great. Well, thank you so much for setting us straight on that.
You got it, guys. Murray, have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon, sir.
All right, brother.
Well, you are listening to Parahub Radio, the Internet's only rock and roll paranormal extravaganza. We are talking with Murray Silver. And, Murray, I don't even remember where we left off with you, actually.
Actually, it doesn't really matter. We can take up anywhere you want, but I'm thrilled to hear that Patrick's still in business. I guess that the story that I heard was correct to a certain point, that it won't be in Savannah anymore,
right,
as it has been, and I'm sorry for that, but I'm thrilled that Patrick is still at it and that he's moving on with it, because what he does is important. It's one of the few places you can go and you have the chance to hear people deliver on all aspects of spirit And I have been honored to be a part of the panels that he has convened, and I hope he keeps at it. But I got to tell you this. This may be the toughest business, if you will, in the world to be in, because we are attacked by everybody.
Yes.
We are attacked by religion. We are attacked by science. We're attacked by the media.
And
we're
each
attacked
other.
by everybody.
Yeah, each other, you know.
And well, yeah, and this is look. Some people ask me, why in the hell do you do it? Yeah. Why do you subject yourself to all of the criticism, the cruelty, the slights, the jokes, why? And I'll tell you why. Because I know it to be true.
There you go.
I know it to be true. I have seen it. I have seen it operate. I've photographed it. I've encountered it. It has saved my life and the lives of the people that I love. And all I can tell you is, once you know something to be true, you cannot turn your back on it. And you feel compelled to help other people because you know how frustrating it is to believe in something and everybody else thinks you're crazy.
Right. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We are talking with Murray Silver on Parahub Radio, and Paula, Anthony, and Katz also joining. Katz, are you still back? You got a question? Okay.
I think she fell asleep.
She either fell asleep or she went to the bathroom. I'm not sure which. I can't see her, so I don't know.
Are you telling me somebody went to sleep on me?
Would that be a first?
Well, no, my wife does it frequently, but that's another matter.
Right.
Speaking of your wife.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, speaking of your wife, there was some story that I heard about you and your wife with some healing that she's doing right now?
Well, I recently published my memoirs, a book called When Elvis Meets the Dalai Lama, and it recounts all of my favorite stories about how I started out in the rock business and ended up working for the Tibetans. But I wrote this book for a number of reasons, none of which is more important than the last couple of chapters, which is what happened when my wife was diagnosed with leukemia. She was treated by the Dalai Lama and his chief physician. Mm-hmm. And their way of going about dealing with illness is completely different from the Western world of science. And so I wanted to write about our experiences at the hands of the Dalai Lama and his physician. But my wife is from Brazil, and she has returned home. She had to begin, after 10 years, she had to begin chemo when she developed a case of tonsillitis that made her white count go haywire. And because we have no medical insurance here, she went back home where we have some. Mm-hmm. The point is this, chemo did not put her into complete remission, and she found herself in the presence of a board-certified physician who happens to channel the spirit of a German doctor who lived 100 years ago.
Wow.
And she on Sundays, she treats people for free. She does not accept gifts, gratuities, or charge for this service. She goes into a trance, she channels this physician, and she treats you. And people by the scores will come to her clinic to receive this free treatment. The woman doesn't ask you anything, not even your name or your condition, but when she's in the trance, she automatically knows what it is that you need, and she does it. Now, a couple of years ago, Steve Croft from 60 Minutes went to Brazil and did an expose on another doctor who does something very similar. There's something going on in the Amazon. There are doctors who are doing this, and he went down there to debunk one of them and couldn't. Mm-hmm. But the point that I'm making to you is that this doctor, board certified, will on Sundays treat people using the spirit of this long-dead German physician. And the most astounding thing is that needles come out of the end of her fingers. I said needles come out of the end of her fingers.
We're not talking about fingernails.
No. Some people see them, some people don't. Some people say they look like radiating bands of light. But this, all she has to do is she doesn't have to touch you, but get near you, and people feel this incredibly intense pain as these things enter their body and manipulate their body and cause them to be healed of anything and everything. And there are hundreds of people, documented cases, who have been healed by this woman in Brazil. And my wife has been going to see her now for a couple of weeks, and the progress she has made is nothing short of incredible. In fact, her doctor told her that she did not have to continue chemotherapy anymore, that something was going on with her that they couldn't get to the bottom of. And here's the thing. She did not tell her oncologist that she was doing this.
That's amazing.
And the oncologists are looking at the blood tests every week and saying, we don't understand this. We don't understand it, but we're going to go with it. And these are all improvements, but the point I'm making to you is that this is yet another application of spirit and what it's capable of doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I swear to you, by all that I hold sacred, what I'm telling you is true. There are people who can channel the spirits of long dead people, and they can tap into this consciousness. And I think that this is part of the frontier that we, as spiritualists and as ghost hunters, are dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
One of the practical applications of what I do a lot of consulting with psychiatrists and psychologists who have patients that are manifesting problems that you cannot get to the bottom of scientifically or medically,
Right.
especially when it comes to multiple personality disorders. How is it that a person can be living a perfectly normal life and then one day start to manifest another personality? I mean, what's happened to this person? If they didn't get hit on the head, what's happened here?
Yeah.
And it is my theory that it's quite possible that a disembodied spirit can walk in on you and take up residence in the same body along with your God-given spirit. And I got the idea by talking to doctors and nurses who work with the dying and have reported to me a number of cases of people in a coma, lying in a bed, who all of a sudden begin to speak. But it is not the patient that is talking to you. What has happened is a disembodied spirit has entered the body of the patient in order to deliver a message that cannot be heard any other way. And if it's possible for spirit to walk in on a person who's in a weakened physical condition, it is my contention that there's nothing to prevent it from walking in on people who are emotionally weak or mentally weak or physically weak or spiritually weak. And now doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists are having to take a look at this theory and explaining what's happening to people who have multiple personalities. And that is one of the practical applications of what it is that I do. When you're talking about spirit, there is no limitation. There are no boundaries here. Mm-hmm. And now what we're looking for is the practical application. What good is it to go and find ghosts if you don't follow where this can lead?
Wow.
And one of the places it can lead is in psychotherapy. Yeah, baby.
I feel like I'm in school again, and I'm just I'm enthralled. I'm learning.
Hey, Murray,
so much.
you've actually been able to cross over, so to speak, at one point, haven't you?
I have, and I tell you, it is a disorienting thing. But let me put it to you this way. When you are crossing over, you have to lay aside everything you think you know, and you have to suspend the reflex to impose your beliefs onto every situation you encounter. The key here is to hold the world exactly as it is. And if you do this right, you'll experience things beyond your wildest dreams, and you'll change everything you see into a more beautiful version of itself. But first, you have to learn to set aside everything you know, all of your preconceptions,
mm-hmm.
and you have to suspend this tendency that we have to impose our beliefs on everything, to make it conform to what it is that we think that we know. And in this way, you can access other dimensions, other modalities, other energies.
Mm-hmm.
And so the key here is, I mean, simple to say, it's hard to do. It's a matter of how we deal with time. And if you want to access these other dimensions, you first of all have to learn how to ignore time. Because when you ignore the true nature of time, you confuse the true nature of space. And that is, in a nutshell, how you see ghosts.
Wow, you've come full circle now. You brought it all back home. Well, Murray, this has been a fascinating conversation, and we definitely
Are we done?
Yeah, we have. We have to.
I have
definitely.
one more question if you have a minute, Ruff.
Go ahead. We got one more.
I was going to ask. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Murray, I believe that you were actually filmed crossing over, so to speak, to where you kind of your legs went out from underneath you, if I recall.
You know, there are two important photographs that I have tendered before physicists for their explanations. One of them happened at Fort Pulaski in Savannah, Georgia, where, with a film crew attending me, I walked into a portal and completely disappeared from view except for the four fingers of my left hand. And in the photographs that we have pulled out of this footage, there is this break at the top of the photograph that physicists believe is a break in dimensions.
And where can we find?
I walked through a portal into another dimension, This also happened to me in one of the buildings that is part of the Pirates House Restaurant Complex in Savannah.
Right.
And there's a famous photograph of me putting my hand through a portal, and my hand has disappeared up to my shoulder.
Wow.
That photograph is also on the PBS television broadcast called Southern Haunts.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, it has been photographed twice now, this ability to cross into another dimension through a portal. Yeah, and I believe that these places exist all over this planet, and my only fear is that if you cross into it entirely, that you might not be able to get back.
What did you see when you were on the other dimension there?
I was in the same place, but I was in a different time.
Wow.
I was at a different time, and night had turned to day, and all of a sudden there were people around me that had not been there a minute before, but what happened was I walked through this doorway. It's just as if you're entering a room and somebody's called you back into the room you've just left. Because what happened was the people around me started screaming, and they ran, and I ran after them thinking something was behind us. And I came back out of this thing, and when I did, it was like getting hit in the head. And I thought, well, wait a minute, what the hell just happened here? I'd gone from night to day to night, and I was with my friends one minute, and then I was around a group of people I did not recognize, and then back among my friends again. And then when we pulled up the footage, we saw that this is what had happened. I actually walked through a portal.
How long did that take?
This happened in a matter of seconds.
Okay.
Because I think that had I gone completely through this thing, I don't know that I would have gotten back.
And where can
I don't
we?
know that I would have gotten back.
Do you know if that footage is available that we can find it?
There is the photograph is part of the PBS show called Haunted South. The photograph is the footage, the actual footage on the video has not been released as part of a show, and here's the reason why. When PBS was assembling this show, they asked me to do, like Patrick Burns, I got my show because I could produce this stuff on demand.
Mm-hmm.
And the stuff we were catching on camera, PBS said, wait a minute, we can't broadcast this. This is too strong for our audience. And they edited it out. They took out the really good stuff and watered it down, and the show that came out was so weak that I decided not to do the rest of the series.
Wow.
So I'm no longer doing the Haunted South, and I've started a new series called Phantoms of History, which I'm developing for the History Channel, and I'm hoping that they will allow me to do more than PBS did. But PBS said, listen, we are public broadcasting. We can't start broadcasting stuff that's going to create, our typical audience to flip out. We'd just rather not deal with all of this right now.
Yeah.
And so consequently, they pulled the footage from the broadcast.
Wow. So you can't get this aired anywhere, huh?
No, but I'll tell you what, next time you come down to Savannah, you'll come and see me, and I'll show you stuff that'll make you pee your pants.
We're there. We're so there. Anthony,
you're always welcome.
Pack the bags. We're going to Savannah.
Sounds good to me.
Well, Murray, thank you so much for being on the show. What's the web address that people can find information on you?
Murray on Spirit. That's MurrayOnSpirit. It is my blog, my website, and right now, if you click on, I've just posted a terrific story about an investigation that I did in New Orleans for Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie.
Wow.
They are building houses for Katrina victims. The first of them have just been completed. But back in December, Brad had me do an investigation because before they began breaking ground, the place was so actively haunted, he was afraid that he was going to be building houses that were going to be haunted. Uh-huh. And so I've posted my report, my study, and the photographs of me and Brad Pitt and the ghosts of New Orleans.
Cool.
So dial that up, and I invite you and all of your listeners to come and see me. I'll be glad to show you around town. I do not charge for this. I do this as a favor to my friends, and I'm happy to share with you what little I know. You're always welcome here.
Thank you, Murray, so much. We'll definitely look you up next time we're in Savannah.
All right, brother.
Thank you. Murray Silver on Parahub Radio. We'll have you on again because I know you have about another hour you could probably do with us at least, right?
I can think of something to say.
Well, thank you so much. You have been listening to Parahub Radio, the Internet's only rock and roll paranormal extravaganza. Thanks again to Murray Silver for joining us. Hey, next week is our Halloween show. Brad Steiger will be on the show, so that ought to be a real interesting one. Join us every Thursday beginning at 10 p.m. Eastern, right where you're listening to it right now. Parahub Radio. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye, everyone. Hey, this is Roughhouse. Thanks for listening to this week's Parahub Radio Podcast. As always, you can hear us live every Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific, 3 a.m. if you happen to be in the UK. Just go to parahub.org and click on the chat, and you can listen to us and talk to us while we're doing the show. Thanks again. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.
Doorways Magazine.
Journal of Horror and the Paranormal.
Our stories and columns as doorways to transport you to other places.
Some of those places may scare you.
Others make you sit back and think.
But all of them are here to take you out of your ordinary life for just a little while.
Where nothing follows the rules.
Where commonplace events have uncommon consequences.
Where the sound you hear.
Where the sound you hear or the movement you see from the corner of your eye is just as scary and strange as your imagination says it might be.
Visit us at doorwaypublications.com.